Welcome to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. I'm your host, Bob Simon. We talk practical how-tos for lawyers, trying to make their lives a little bit easier and also for the staff. And we have a great product. Well, also, Vivek Rao is on the show, and he's recovering lawyer.
Yeah.
Went to one of those highbrow schools. But he also, as you know, and on the show I talk a lot about it, is I like legal technology built by lawyers for a pain point that we have. And for all of you that are listening, it's called Foundation AI that my firm uses, other firms use, and it becomes your back-end mailroom. We're going to talk about all that.
Yeah.
But first, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Bob. How are you?
Doing good. You're a SoCal guy.
I am. Born and raised.
Whereabouts?
So born actually in Orange County. And then when I was young, moved to Pomona and then Claremont, California. So last city east in LA County.
Claremont's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's ever been there, it's like almost like a mountain desert town. It's awesome.
Yeah. Little small town close to Mount Baldy. So you can get up to the snow. And back then you could drive down to the beach pretty easily before all the traffic. And yeah, good place to grow up.
Yeah. I know I have a lot of friends in Claremont. So, I mean, we'll fast forward a little bit because I know people that are watching and listening just want to kind of hear where this is going to go. Foundation AI is something that will take all of your mail, whether email or physical, has the artificial intelligence to OCR it and put it all into the files where it needs to be, and also to your case management system.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And more. So
I know,
there's more.
But that at its core, because we're using it now, and it's just like, whoa. You have no idea that this could actually, when I started, you were probably scanning your own mail and trying to put it in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way this came about was, taking it back to when I kind of got kicked out of big law. I ended up working with startups here in the LA area, a lot of sort of digital media influencers and smaller kind of companies. And I took a day job doing work comp defense. And that was the first time I saw really high volume litigation. I'd never done litigation. I'd been a transactional guy. And,
workers' comp is crazy amount of paperwork.
Tons, right? And tons of physical mail, but also all the faxes that come in that still go into email boxes. And we had at the firm 20 people that were sitting there, and their whole job all day was every document that comes in, searching the system to figure out what matter it is. And we had, tons of people with the same names. So getting it in the right matter, figuring out what type of document it was to put it in the right folder, and then name it to a convention. If it's a medical record, then they're putting it in the medicals folder and naming it with, the data service, the type of report, the doctor's name, and putting it, and then alerting the right people. So, attorneys would get alerted if pleadings came in, and maybe a case manager if there was a medical. And so even when all this was done totally correctly, it took 20 people, and it would be weeks. A document would come in, and we're defense, so that's why they're so slow. And it would be days at best, but weeks sometimes before it got to the person who needs to see it. And it was insane.
I mean, same struggle we had. I mean, when I started my firm with my little brother and our copier,
Yeah.
it was our scanner, and we would just literally scan the mail, name it. We had Windows folders. We didn't have a case management system at that time. Shit, that was half the day. That was half the day. Just trying to name your stuff and put it in the right folders. And then what we learn now is when we had before Foundation AI, we had a department in our firm that would do that. And it would also be a department that was a revolving door because people would essentially accelerate out of the mailroom.
Yeah.
Up into a higher level position.
Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, those 20 people that were in that room, I mean, no one wanted to be doing that. It's not, it's basically data entry, right? And if you have someone that's sort of has the attention to detail, shows up, cares enough to do that job, there's a million other things at a law firm that they should be doing. If you have someone good who can do that job well, they can do a lot of things that are way more impactful, better. And so, that was kind of the thesis, right? Is we started this a long time ago before AI was kind of what it is. I was actually thinking about this today. We launched our first customer officially in March of 2020. And COVID happened, I think we signed our first customer officially and launched about a week before COVID, fully hit, the lockdowns.
What's funny is when we started Justice HQ, we opened our first space March of 2020.
Yeah. So,
but now it's everyone's was the best timing you get ever up because the whole industry evolves. It's guys, we told you everything was digital community, and now digital marketplace, digital mailroom, right?
Well, that was the thing. The firms that hadn't gone digital were locked down and screwed, and the ones that had case management systems and all that, they were able to operate right through it. And so I think at that point, every firm had to start, going digital, and case management systems, lit a 5 and they all exploded. And then firms would go and they'd try to apply these like analog manual, 1990s processes to a modern digital system, and it just didn't make sense. You had people spending their entire days. People could do other things doing this.
There was one product we explored during COVID. They ended up getting acquired, but they were called Earth something. They actually took our mail and put
Earth class mail.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, literally when COVID happened, we found the solution. I told all the other lawyers about it. They did very well because they used Earth class mail. And then one day they were gone.
You want to hear something crazy about Earth class mail? Google it. There's a TV show called like The Startup from like the 90s. Earth class mail started back then during the .com boom. Really? And they got bought like 5 times. But there was a show, you can find it on YouTube, like a TV show about that company when they started it. But the thing is even with Earth class mail, and people will say that, well, my thing's already coming in email. You still have to download the document, match it to the matter, put it in your system and all of that. So, for a lot of our firms, when something comes in digitally, it actually takes them longer. And we have all these metrics to get it into the system in the right place. If you're going to have someone downloading it, renaming it to your naming convention, putting it in the right place. And usually that work is done not by clerical staff, by the attorney themselves or case managers or paralegals.
Because it's so technical what that document may be, and then you're OCRing it too, because what we do at our firm is you need to have intelligence layered onto that, right? So you can search your universe of documents, but it's got to be done the right way, in the right place, named. The naming conventions are big.
Yeah, so let me kind of, I guess I'll take a step back and talk about what it is we do. We think of ourselves as sort of the bridge between all the ways documents come into your firm. So you nailed it. Like, you're scanning a bunch of physical mail, and that's going down, but you're getting a ton of emails to centralized boxes. So let's say, your fax, and we still have fax, and especially when we deal with healthcare records, your faxes are going into an email box. You might have a centralized box, service@simonlawgroup.com. So all those emails, and then just individual emails that are coming into your attorneys, your case managers, paralegals. So all those documents are coming in. And if you're running a firm, you want everything that comes in, whatever the source, captured and ideally processed the same way if you want to scale, right? And if you want to ensure nothing gets missed, there's no medical bill sitting in someone's email box when you're trying to write your demand that never makes it in the file, So all those documents.
Goes to the wrong file, goes to the wrong name. I mean, this does happen.
It does. And so what our software does is we integrate with all those ways documents come into the firm, and then with the practice management system on the other side, right?
Ours
or the
goes
DMS.
Right into our case management practice.
Exactly. So every document, it grabs it. It looks at it like a person. So we're integrated with the system. So it knows your claim numbers, your case numbers, the names, the addresses. So it's looking at the document like a person would, comparing it against your caseload to make sure it knows which matter this is. Then it's also classifying it. And we have like 700 different types of documents. We've trained these models. These aren't based on GPT or the new LLMs. We've been building these models for 5+ years, right? So then it matches it to a document type, which is matched to your convention for that document type. What information do you want pulled out of the document to be put into the name it your way, put it in the right place, alert the right people.
Police report back, then you could have workflows, when it comes in, where it goes, workflows from there.
Yeah, and one of the things that people don't think about, is they might have a system in place where they have people doing this, but usually the people can't get that granular. So imagine, like most of the firms we talk to, when a document comes in, the entire case team gets alerted. So you're the attorney, you get an email or a task, and you're looking, it's like a medical bill. Like, cool, you didn't need to see that, right? So one of the things that saves our firms, not just the people in the mailroom, but the actual, attorneys and people doing work is, now you can have what we call dynamic role-based tasking. So let's say you say police reports go to this person, medicals go to this person, these types of discovery, demands go to this paralegal, and, only this stuff needs to go to the handling attorney. And you can designate by document type, not only how you want it named, what folder, but who you want alerted, how you want them alerted, and things like that. So now, rather than your attorneys being bombarded all day by stuff they don't need to see, people are only seeing, not only are you making sure that everything that comes into the firm is captured and processed the exact same way, but you only have to put things in front of the people who need to see them.
And they're not wasting their time with the stuff they don't need to see.
Exactly.
So we were joking as I put you in a text chain with one of my buddies, Mauro Fiore, and I'll call him out because when I travel with him, he just puts all of his mail, like he carries his hard mail in a backpack. Like he just has all of his firm's mail, even though they scan it in. And I was like, you got to get with Foundation AI. And he was really excited about it. But then I put him on with the rest of your team.
Yeah.
But Mauro's thing is this. He said, I like to get the file. I like to see like the the police report or the claim numbers, because some or the adjusters, like 'cause sometimes I know, based on the property damage or who the defendant is or the insurance carrier, that it triggers him that it might be a bigger case or something that he needs to pay attention to, right? That's something that Foundation AI helps with.
I think so, because we're putting it into the right place, and so you would have that information in the file. So people who work off, digitally, they would be able to see that. But the other thing is, there are now a ton of AI platforms, and a lot of them are really cool and really sexy, right? I mean, and what we find and what a lot of the firms that we work with find, and we've got at this point now, over 100 customers, all the way from the big guys like, the Morgans and Sweet James, all the way to, good size, mid-sized firms like yours, and then also 2 to 3 attorney firms that are really looking to scale up. But the thing, and I just lost my train of thought. Look at that.
It's okay, man. This shit happens.
But the thing, that's what it is. The thing about it is there's so many of these really sexy, really cool AI platforms, but a lot of the firm owners tell us the same thing. Like, like this claims intelligence platform, it's amazing, but it requires my people to get all the documents in the system for it to work. It's this whole garbage in, garbage out thing. So in a lot of ways, the way we think about it is we are like the plumbers, like the infrastructure. We're really good, and we're very focused on like getting everything into the right place, organized the right way, getting everything you need out of it so that you can go
plugged into it. It's put another pipe in. And I like that terminology because you're doing the plumbing, the work that a lot of other people don't want to do.
It's not sexy, but it's necessary.
Part of law, necessary.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any other competitors pop up for Foundation AI because it's like a huge problem that all the law firms have. I mean, I haven't seen one. You don't have to name names.
No, people are going to try, and they try. It's a lot harder than it looks. Like it's taken a while to get it because you can't be wrong, right? And you have to have ways to build in the human loop feedback mechanism. I think some people who have tried, they don't come from legal, right? And they don't think about how important it is. And you come from like, DoorDash or something, and someone doesn't get their order on time, and you refund them $7 and send them another one, right? But when you're dealing with documents for law firms, a document doesn't go the right place, or you make a decision that's incorrect and it goes in the wrong file, or someone doesn't see it. Like that's someone's life.
Yeah, if it's a pleading or a discovery, you miss a deadline because it was in the wrong folder or they got the wrong date or something. It could be a malpractice issue.
Yeah, and then malpractice for the attorney, and then detrimental to the client, the end client. And I think that a lot of tech companies, like they're tech companies, they don't think about that the same way because they've never been a lawyer, and so I think and the way we think about that is our software all has a lot of human in the loop component, right? The reason we don't use LLMs necessarily, we use them for some things, but why we have our own models is we're able to derive very reliable confidence scores. So with our system, our clients can set their level of confidence with the system's output. So based on document type, based on the field, you can set, if it's 99, if it's 80% accurate for this thing that isn't that important, like the name of the sender, someone's going to look at it, fine. But this, the date of the pleading, we need to be 99%. And if the system isn't, that's what your people get to see in the user interface. And it's all designed around this concept of, whenever the system is not confident, it will show that to the people, usually the same people that were doing this whole thing manually, but now in a fraction of the time, they're just double checking.
Yeah, they're QC. They're doing quality control. So, one thing that I think the Fusion listeners should know is when you do sign up for Foundation AI, is they're so specific to your firm, and every firm is different with different case management practice, with different workflows. They will systematize it, but it does take time for it to get into the system and for it to learn. Because lawyers think they get a product out of the box, it's just going to work.
Yeah.
It takes time for it to be able to learn your workflow, how you do things. Some people don't put everything, like our firm doesn't put everything into our case management system. So we had to build the integration to go directly into those folders as well.
Yep.
So,
but the good thing is that, at this point, we have a lot of integrations that are pre-built and a lot of models that are pre-built. So, I think Dropbox or
we run SharePoint.
Yeah.
And then,
and I think they still go both places. So a lot of our clients, for example, it'll go in their practice management system and in SharePoint. And so now we have that SharePoint integration like fully built out. And so we can put them in both, right? In Clio. And we're integrated with, Clio, obviously, Smart Advocate, Filevine, Litify, Smokeball, Neos.
Nice.
And I'm excited to announce that starting, I guess, I don't know when this will air, Q2 of 25 here, we're going to have our Case Peer integration.
Nice.
And that's
My Case and Case Peer?
So my case will come after. It'll be this year as well, though. But Case Peer first, which I know is, really impactful for a lot of the attorneys that you deal with, and obviously the JHQ members.
Like Mauro Fiore's on Case Peer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I know a lot of
Case Peer and Maris Case and we have Maris Case as well. We started in California work comp, so we have a lot of California work comp customers. But yeah,
and that's like, I mean, you want to be where you want to go where your customers are already working.
Yeah.
Right. You're not trying to change what they're doing. You're just making it easier for them to do it.
That's a critical point, right? The way, for the most part, some customers, like especially, smaller ones, we do show them what we think are best practices based on, we work with a lot of firms. We know what works and we can help them if they're doing things that are, and it's not wrong. Sometimes firms, especially smaller ones, they do something that is so particular that it's not scalable, right? And then, as you start scaling, you might have to, change from, if you want to have standardization, then you have to give up a little bit of, everyone doing it uniquely. So, we do with firms like that. Sometimes we'll share best practices, but for the most part, the software has to work the way you all work, right? Lawyers are notoriously terrible at change management. When I was at a firm,
change management, I like that. Lawyers hate change.
We upgraded Word, I remember, at a firm I was at, and it wasn't like the file. It wasn't like the file saved. Now it was like the stupid Windows thing that you clicked on, and like people revolted because like they didn't know how to save documents anymore. So yeah, it has to match your workflows and the way you do things. And so the software is super configurable and customizable to the firms, to how they operate. And it has to be, because people, we want lawyers to be able to continue to practice law the way they want. We're just trying to enable them to get their documents faster in a more standardized way, and sort of, and be able to do that work.
So they could be in the client's living room rather than the mailroom.
I mean, only a genius could come up with something that catchy.
Yeah. When your team asked me for a tagline, they gave me a suggested one, and I was like, I got a better one.
You're like, nope,
one.
Yeah,
because that's what I think about. I teach my lawyers all the time to go with where our clients are, and not have to deal with the menial tasks. That was good.
That's a great point, though. I was talking to Ray about this, and Ray said the same thing. You should have AI that's automating the non-human stuff that people shouldn't need to do. Like, no one wants to sit around doing data entry, right? So you can free your people up to focus on the human stuff, right? So you have people, whether it's the attorneys, but your case managers, your paralegals, that can now focus on the stuff that human beings should be doing. They shouldn't be doing, rote data entry. It's 2025. There's no reason for that anymore.
So how'd you get the name Foundation AI? I love it. I'm surprised you were able to pull that off.
No, well, I shouldn't say this out loud. I hated it in the beginning because
Really?
Well, it's not trademarkable, and we don't have a trademark for it.
I mean, so.
Yeah.
But it's easy to remember.
Yeah, but I was a dorky transactional guy, man.
Yeah.
We need a trademark. Yeah. So my co-founders, though, and so the quick story on how this business started, I'll tell you that because it's probably important, because I'm not a tech guy. Don't let my Indian brown skin fool you.
I was totally fooled. I was enamored and fooled.
Yeah, no, I'm not one of those. I got a lot of them. So when I was working with startups, one of them was a company called Enlytics. It was a healthcare AI company. Enlytics. Another good name. And it was a healthcare AI company. And they were really doing, this was 2013 or 14, and they were doing, crazy stuff I'd never seen. They were building software that could read medical images and things like that. And it was healthcare AI, and that's the first time I saw AI. And I basically ended up being general counsel for that business, or working with them while doing all the other stuff. And that was it, right? I saw what they were doing, and I saw what was going on in our mailroom with all these, these manual processes that it seemed like this is stuff AI should be doing that no one wants to do. And they sold that company off in late 17. And then so I kept on thinking about it, and then they were, at a conflict in doing anything else in healthcare, but they were kind of ready to do something new in 2018, 19. And so I convinced them, hey, a lot of the work you guys done, a lot of what you guys know, this would be really useful for lawyers. And at the time, no one was really building software, certainly not for the small and mid-sized lawyers. They were maybe building stuff for the big AmLaws, but no one cared about, about the lawyers. But those are the lawyers I knew, right? And that's the kind I was people need this. And no one big firms, they don't think about this because, I mean, the big AmLaws, because they're like, what, we bill $800 an hour. Like we have people to do that stuff. But, you know, firms that are on contingency, they're trying to be efficient for their clients, like that stuff matters, right? Overhead. So I got them to join me, and then I had my much smarter tech dorks help as my co-founders, and we built this thing. And so Foundation, the Isaac Asimov sort of foundation series, that my founders were.
I was going to ask you that because I love that show.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I watched the Apple show. I've not read the books. I know people that read them.
I haven't read the books, but my co-founders did and loved it. So you know, that's why they were vehement. Like, we are doing an AI company. It's Foundation AI. And I was like, we can't trademark it. And they're like,
I love it, but you got to. I mean, stuff that you remember. It describes what you do. When you have these other companies that have to make up a word, it's like, I'm never going to remember that. It's so hard.
I mean, and documents are the foundation of your legal practice,
it's
right?
The foundation of your whole firm.
So yeah,
So how do people reach out to you or your company?
Yeah, you know, our website is www.foundationai.com. You can email me directly at Vivek, Vivek, at foundationai.com. You can hit us up on Instagram.
Love it.
It's, I think, Foundation. I think there's an underscore because someone else got my. Yeah.
I hate when they do
Yeah,
that.
right.
They squat it.
And specifically for JHQ members, we're going to be running some specials. So, you know, definitely when you hit us up, mention JHQ, mention Bob, and we're going to be doing some promotional
Yeah,
stuff.
'cause I know a lot of, you know, our friends and members here at Justice HQ are using Foundation AI.
Yep.
And again, you know, I talk so much about this show is consistency across the board.
Yeah.
If all practices can do the same consistent things, and it makes us all be better. And I'm excited for the future of the ability for these other exciting AI tools to plug into the plumbing of Foundation AI to essentially run and scale your firm. And if you're watching and listening to this firm, I know a lot of people ask me this question. You know, if you want to sell your law firm, I've been getting this a lot lately because we're seeing a lot of it.
Consolidation's happening.
Consolidation. I mean, what are they looking for? They're looking for systems that are systematized, replicable law firms, right? I mean, that's what. And if they're looking at your firm and they see that you have digitized and modernized your mailroom, and they've seen that you have systems in place, this is something they're going to take seriously.
Yeah, I mean, look, like any business, you know, scaling requires, you know, standardization, right? I mean, it requires consistency and standardization, and you know, it's very difficult, even with really good people, to get that, because people are all gonna, you know, name it their own way, and especially when people are busy and all that, right? And you know, if you have good people, they should be doing important things, and frankly, like, this isn't that. This is very important, but it's not that exciting for people to do, and it's hard to find people that'll be engaged. They graduate out of it, and you have to continually add and train new people, and then your processes, you know. So something that you can do to become very efficient, and really the foundation of everything else you want to do for scale, whether that is plugging in additional AI on top of it, you know, if medical, then send it to Even Up, you know, or
correct,
you know, and so all these other platforms, Even Up, you know.
There's so much stuff you could do. Discovery comes in, push it.
Esquire Tech, yep.
Do your thing. This is what I'm excited about, because now that we're on this journey, you could just literally as we talked about this, let our staff and attorneys do the human activities.
Yeah.
Right? Like the human to human stuff. Wow. Well, it's nice doing human to human stuff with you.
Yeah,
Vivek.
always.
You can also slide into his DMs. He loves it. It's
Love
one
it.
of his favorite things. He's also a girl dad like me. We'll talk about this when we do our Bourbon Approved show. We'll get a little deeper dive into you.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. This was an alcohol-free show. I
It
know
was.
It's rare. But as my dad says,
It's almost noon, so you know we get.
Yeah, it's a noon somewhere, right? As my dad says, I always wake up by like a 0.05 anyway, so it's like whatever. But thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. Go to foundationai.com for any questions about Vivek. If you're a Justice HQ member, you can go to the community app to reach out about their services or discounts. Thank you for watching and listening, and this has been a good one, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Bob. Thanks everyone for watching.